what's important to remember if you or someone in your life is transgender or queer is that this is part of the entire order of beauty in life systems. It's an essential part. If you look at light as it travels around the day and night wheel, and that cycle, like many cycles, there are points of change and transformation where things that are opposite to each other meet and merge, interplay, create. In changing places, we call them things like dawn, twilight, dusk, gloaming. There's an interesting energy there, measurable to science, at the dawn. That's the greatest amount of vital force in its energetic nature of any point in that cycle. It reminds me of the equinoxes when we have things like winter and summer, where the light is at its most dark or most bright. When they come and meet at a very balanced place, there's a lot of creative mixing there as well. We call it spring and autumn or fall. But it's this beautiful energy of spring and fall, these movement energies, where we see the leaves literally falling, right? Or the springing to life from the seeds. So whether it's the glowing golden of the sunrise time or the glowing golden of the evening light, that photographers seek out for beauty, in these places where extremes meet and balance and mixture and dynamic change, we see beauty. We see the spring flowers. We see the autumn leaves. We see the colors of the sunrise and sunset. We see these two winking eyes, of color spectrums at the places of meeting of things that are opposite in nature and where they mix and meet. And I think in us, we can see we have opposites, male, female, masculine, feminine, in us all. So if we're looking at transness and queerness in our natures, our world, our self, nature itself, is it natural? Is it good? Where do you mix your opposites in you? How does that look? What would you say is your feminine energy or your masculine energy? How do you embody that? How does it mix? Where do they meet? Where is the place where it feels exciting and inspiring when they hit that sweet mixture of whatever you would consider it? Like, people are encouraged to get in touch with their inner ... Usually say my inner feminine. We should all embrace our inner feminine because it's our caring, nurturing, creativity force, connectivity force. A lot of love and euphoria is there, a lot of connectivity, bonding that creates all the euphoria that we love here. That is here. A lot of this beautiful chemistry feelings are here. The good vibe. So yes, get in touch with your inner feminine. And what does that look like? Get in touch with your inner masculine. That's this beautiful, vital force that says yes and is an active, moving force. I am moved. The one who creates music and is moved by it. This is so beautiful. Or is the music itself? Like all this activity. What brings you life? What is that life bringing? So it's sort of an inspiration or a incendiary quality from in us. It says, I can't help but live. It's like the flower that comes out of a seed. Wow, I'm this color. Anyways, this seems very queer and trans to me because it's about transformation and about mixing all these elements. We have the rainbow, of course, that is a good example of that. And in us, where's your rainbow? Of course, we know in natural systems of medicine from traditional cultures we have all around the world come from. We have a rainbow of energies in us creating our bodies, and they include our emotions and our spirit. And isn't it amazing part of queerness and transness, this emotional, spiritual experience of discovering what you enjoy, who you are as an expression of that joy, and for the world to enjoy that and be inspired? It's an economy of joy. I would say like bees and flowers. So we want to be like that. It's even in our language. We want to be like that. Isn't that funny? So if you're getting good at life, you're just getting good at being yourself. Isn't that funny? So yeah, we got to get in touch with that hum, right? Of the honey hive and be that. And then make the honey in the flower garden. We're part of the pollination ecosystems, and it is a trans and queer nature that brings the best of this out in us, just like sunrise and sunset and all its beautiful colors of connectivity. So I would say if any level of us is experiencing queerness or transness, you know, as like a huge immersive experience. I'm a transgender man. It's been a very immersive experience to be trans for me, and queer. I mean, it's touched everything in my life, and I've always been that way in some form or another. So for us, though, I mean, I think we all are all of it. That's what I believe as a practitioner, and what I know from traditional medicine systems, and what I experience from my practice to be true. But for you, you can take that in as you will. And experiment with what that means for you to be whole, to be here, to have your version of this. Everybody has their own unique version. This is an exciting vitality restoration project, you know, where people are reclaiming their authentic expression. And that is their highest wellness and biggest gift here. And yeah, I think we're restoring the dignity of humanity, starting with ourselves and our own, you know, just joy. What do I really enjoy? Who am I? So that is a trans and queer thing to do. Who am I? What am I? Who am I really, you know, authentically? Who do I really enjoy? That is something that queerness and transness brings you into, that experience of asking that deep question and letting yourself really live in that orientation. So everyone deserves this. This is actually about human dignity, to incorporate this in. When we look at biodiversity, which is life's diversity or diverse systems, and the diversity in life systems, this has always been considered to be an advantage for biological systems to incorporate in. You want sustainability and integrity of the systems, like in seed saving. I am an agriculturalist as well as a natural medicine practitioner. So I know about traditionalism. Okay, I'm actually a spiritualist too, and that's not separate from any of my other practices, which is a very traditionalist way to approach things. I'm so traditionalist. Anyways, I know a lot about traditionalism, which is funny because traditionalists, and put that in quotes, they don't. They're getting a lot wrong. And they think that queerness is like some modern thing. That's not true. It's actually really, really, really not true and misinformed. So people need to look at traditionalism more. Anyways, so we have to integrate biodiversity in strategically, as well as maintaining systems of standardization. They have a balance for each other in a way that they work in different systems, like seed saving, for instance. In agronomy, you're going to take the notion that you need to maintain the integrity of picking the superhero traits that you want. This one bloomed earliest. We want earlier. We want ones that bloom within this ecosystem. We want ones that didn't rot. We want ones with prettier flowers, bigger ones, juicier ones, sweeter ones, no bitter ones, whatever. And you pick your seeds for the traits you want, okay? And this is like ourselves and our energy. We pick in our lives what to put in our seeds and what to keep, cultivate, and harvest, and to plant again, okay? We're always doing this. And so with actual seeds in agriculture, you do that. And then strategically, you also factor in cross-open pollination. You build that in if you're smart. Open pollination is a sustainable agriculture practice for seed saving that's really important because it's going to integrate the biodiversity into your system strategically. Often the rule was you maintain the stock, picking selective traits and standardization things for certain groups of plants, and then you'll integrate in diversity into that group. And then you'll select again. You'll do it like 3 times. I studied this years ago, but you need to have that process of integrating diversity in to the seed bank as part of your process. And you're going to have more traits and endurance of your crops. So traits is important. That means a lot. Like it's gosh. Would you like to eat like one piece of like white bread cooked one way? It's only toasted ever. We don't really, that's it. Sure, some butter. People have some basics that are pretty good. Maybe they have like one piece of meat and you get to choose one and it's cooked very, and then like you have like, I don't know if this is a good metaphor, but I just feel like we all can agree that like, wouldn't it be an advantage compared to that? Sure, there's some of your best things if you picked in like standard for your nutrition and we got these basics and then we cook them this way and this is the best or whatever. Okay. But like, imagine then you get to go to a restaurant or have a meal, not a restaurant, but a meal where you're actually brought through an experience of diverse flavors, colors, textures, ingredients, the way that the food happens in front of you and going into you is like, I'm picturing a child learning to eat right now as I'm trying to think about what that would be like. It's like I'm learning to eat. Remember we get like open up, like, and you're like, how do I eat this? I have this vague memory of like getting it on my face and just trying to like, get it in. You're like, what? Like it's disorienting to try to learn to eat. That's what I feel like this is like when you're coming out of a world that's focused on just like only the basics, standardized, just lock them in, keep that going. What? You want something different? We've got toast and bread again. Whatever. We've got a piece of meat. Keep going. Like, and then you get to experience this meal. I love the movie Babette's Feast. It was one of my grandpa's favorite movies, and as a kid, mine too. You should see Babette's Feast. It's so beautiful, and it's exactly this. It's about the revelation of people just like experiencing a meal. Makes me want to cry immediately. I feel like people have been reduced to a kind of human experience that's a little bit like what I'm describing here. In its difference, like our dignity of humanity in its full experience, I think is more like a feast that I'm describing, which you would just like feel like a child again eating, and you would just be like discovering so much while you ate it. You'd just be like, wow. And it's like this sensory garden of revelation. And I think that our love lives can be like that. Our creative lives can be like that. Our spiritual lives can be like that. Our work and our craft and our path can be like that. The way that we discover nature and life can be like that. Like our hobbies or whatever, where we explore beauty, whatever that is. We're dancing, we love sailing, whatever. It can be more like this feast thing. It doesn't need to be so like boop boop, like people really lock in this idea of like, I gotta get my basics, and they set up their little mini kingdoms with their all little like, it's like I got my plate with my toast and my piece of meat and that's life, keep it going, and if anybody's like ding 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 at the dinner like, hey, and I think there's something more than this, at this point they're really not it's not appreciated, because people are like, you're going to interrupt my flow of making sure I have this plate of meat and bread. And I have to have this. So This is, I mean, if you're going to interrupt this and I'm not going to have this, then no, you can't be at my table. You can't be interrupting this. We're not going to have our meat and bread. And the person's like, well, I was just going to say, like, I think there's this feast thing where we can have, like, all these other meals and ingredients and all this stuff. And somebody's like, no, what do you, how rude of you to say that at dinner while we're busy getting this, and how ungrateful of you to not like the bread and meat. And he said, well, it's not like I don't like bread and meat, but there's just like 1,000 other things we could eat. Why are we eating it? It's just some people are like offended. You are disrespecting everyone who has kept this meat and bread going. Like, why would you dare be that selfish and entitled to your truth? You know, how could you disrespect the whole lineage of people eating just this? There's a lot of shaming. People will be like, oh, that guy, that person, they want to not eat this anymore. Making fun of them, bullying them for wanting to be different or interrupt or threaten the group. And the group gets real. Because the thing is there's a lot of group processes that really do this together. So there we go. This is some of the ideas I have to present about queerness and transness and systems. I'd say systems thrive when they make space for change, innovation, feasting, adaptation. I think systems need to have maintenance of basics in groups and help that happen. But also groups need to really thrive with orienting towards creative adaptation to prosperity and creativity, innovation, that needs to be built into systems. And we have plenty of examples of that that I think really resemble what queer and transness is to me, that I see it as. It's a factor of diversification, orients things to authentic joy and belonging and orientation as a way of life. And that is a healthy thing to do, along with biodiversity. In every system, you know, rebuild your gut microbiome. That was a funny Freudian slip, but take that for what it is, for sure. And rebuild your relationship to a healthy body and its diversity of orientations and systems and life systems. That's going to be the key to your immunity in every way. Soul, spirit, actual biological health. You know, this is natural traditional medicine that I am speaking. And actually, traditionally, queer and trans people were often in the roles of healers and advisors that were intuitive, because we are people who mix extremes. We are almost like equinox or dawn and dusk, like those energies of mixing. Like, we are in our natures doing that. That's like the state of being we're embodying. So I guess the nature of it is oriented towards the things I'm discussing, which are helpful. We're often the intuitive healer role in a system. So it's that part of you, the artist part too. This is an important part, you know, to get in touch with our divine queer inner nature and trans inner nature, because it's the part of us like that's really adding the content of life that adds its soul and integrates that as a living entity, as a way of being. So this part of our human and biological systems, I would say, that's bringing this sort of rainbow of diversity in, and creative infusion and change places of integration of polarity, you know. This is the garden of beauty and in its glory of expression and relationship. So in its diversity, we're exalted, and just as much as that will be exalted by having a beautiful vessel of continuity catch it, a beautiful vessel of continuity is going to be exalted by the places it integrates that change and creativity, beauty, diversity, energy. So let these things be friends. This is actually, of course, a dream team. So hopefully, if you're looking at issues of cisgender, heterosexual, traditional versus transgender and queer, which is considered modern, but it's not. It's actually very traditional. Consider these things as traditional ancient allies that are bringing the best out of each other. All right. And blessed bees, be well, and blessed be.